Good morning. Please maintain silence for the next 20 seconds. In the audience and at the dais, please maintain silence for the next 20 seconds. Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, June 13th. This proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please say present for roll call. Commissioner KATZ.
Present.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Present.
President McCLAIN-HILL.
Present.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady. Vice President Ruiz.
Present.
4 board members, a quorum is present. Madam President.
Thank you. Just a couple of notes. I do have opening remarks today, and also we will be moving item L16 up to follow general public comments. So first for my remarks, I'd just like to say that, well, let me start this way. 2 years ago, I delivered my first acknowledgement of Pride Month as president of this board, celebrating the contributions of our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and Q+ colleagues. At that time, I made note of the history that we have lived, highlighting the words of a former president who, for the first time, as part of an inaugural address, centered the struggle for gay rights in the continuum of our collective efforts to form a more perfect union. Quote, "We the people declare today that the most evident of truths, that all of us are created equal, is the star that guides us still, just as it guided our forebears through Seneca Falls and Selma and Stonewall." President Obama declared in a speech that served to confirm how far we as a nation had progressed. That was January 2012. This year marks the 53rd anniversary of LA Pride, and I'm always thrilled to note that the very first Pride celebration was held here in the city of Los Angeles. This year, Pride comes at a particularly difficult time in our history, one that has been incredibly tough for the LGBTQ+ community, with the unprecedented rise of discriminatory legislation throughout the U.S. According to the Human Rights Campaign, more than 525 anti-LGBTQ+ bills have been introduced in 2023, and more than 70 of those bills have been signed into law, bills impacting the civil rights, visibility, and healthcare access. It is clear that there is a dangerous, increasingly emboldened movement that aims to catapult us backward. It is especially critical now, more than ever, for allies to stand with LGBTQ+ community members, particularly by speaking up against damaging misinformation and educating our friends and families. Here at LADWP, we continue to show our support for LGBTQ+ employees and customers by participating in the LA Pride Parade for the second year on Sunday, June 11th. I was honored to march in the LADWP contingent, which included more than 100 employees, allies, and family members. I was also humbled, inspired, and informed by a movement and a community who asserts that we are here, who chooses as its flag a rainbow with colors that symbolize and encompass us all, whose power is found in the simple truth that love is love, and who on Sunday, exuberantly, with joy, said to all who would hear, love is love. We're not going anywhere. Together we stand. And I cannot tell you how much LADWP's presence as part of the community family meant to our employees, to our customers, to all those who need to hear the message. We are here. I am very pleased to announce LADWP's second employee resource group, LA Pride, has been officially chartered. I think Marty may have made note of that last week. It was so exciting to see those members who not only participated in the Pride Parade, but worked closely with DEI to help make it happen. So thank you and congratulations. And I am very pleased to say that this ERG will present at our next board meeting to inform us about their mission and their purpose. And as always, I want to say thank you to our incredible communication staff who was not only present, but who has turned around a video, brief video illustrating or memorializing some of the activity on Sunday. So if you would run that now, I'd appreciate it. It's incredibly important for LADWP to be at the LA Pride Parade this year for the second year running, because it's critical that we stand with our employees and we stand with members of this community.
This being our second year is really awesome because our first year was kind of a wish list item that we're real happy to check off. But since then, we actually had our Employee Resources Group charter approved by the department. So we are the first LGBTQIA+ Employee Resources Group in the Department of Water and Power.
Streets LA, like with many big city events, is really proud to help facilitate this event and to participate in it. We think it's really, really important not just to help from a practical sense, but to participate and show that the city and the city family and everybody who makes up the city family stands for inclusion. And we welcome everybody, the big, beautiful quilt that is Los Angeles, including the LGBTQ+ community.
So IBW Local 11 wanted to be present because this is our beautiful city that we live in and that we build. And we, of course, have members of the LGBTQ+ community. We love that LADWP also supports their members and that public utilities are here because, again, LADWP is also part of this great city. We are at LA Pride Parade 2023. This is exciting. What's important about our presence here today?
It's really important for us to be here for a number of reasons. Number one, we are a diverse and inclusive workforce that embraces diversity and allows for all of our employees to embrace their cultural backgrounds and identities without any bias, without any judgment. And so it's very important for us to not only do that, but to recognize the critical contributions of our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer colleagues. And I'm very happy to be here in 2023 LA Pride.
Yeah, and it's a whole lot of fun, too. Don't forget that. Go DWP! LA Pride! Yay!
Yes.
And that banner is fantastic. Also the work of members of our department. In addition, I want to note that we will be celebrating, the department will have June 19th or Juneteenth off again. It is now a federal holiday and a department holiday. We will be gathered tomorrow, 10:30, I think?
10:30.
10:30. At JFB to have a short commemoration and sort of orientation about this very new holiday. So I look forward to being there and invite y'all to join us. There will be a really, really special musical presentation, so do not miss it. I think that concludes, one more thing in terms of opening remarks. Just an observation, earlier last week, I was walking through the building and I saw this amazing display on our internal communications board, and wanted to just share a few images from that display. This Sunday is Father's Day. And throughout the building, there are images, pictures apparently submitted by our employees, commemorating or honoring the fathers with their children. And so I just thought it was such a beautiful gesture. It is so fabulous to walk through the building and to see these wonderful pictures. Happy Father's Day on Sunday to all of the fathers of LADWP. And with that, we will move to public comment. Thank you.
Public comment is now open at this time. Speakers, please be mindful that you will have 2 minutes to address the board. The first and only speaker is Deanne Campbell from Anterix.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And that, I think that
It does work.
comes up if you need it to.
Take a little time. I'm pleased to be here this morning. My name is Deanne Campbell. I'm Chief of Staff at Anterix, the parent company of PDV Spectrum Holdings. A contract will be before you this morning for consideration. It's a frequency relocation agreement, L3, and it is in full support of the FCC report in order. And that was issued on May 2020 to relocate 900 megahertz spectrum. And that is to benefit our utilities that are looking to use 900 megahertz spectrum for broadband deployment. I thank you for your consideration. I thank Mr. Northrup and his team for negotiating the contract, and look forward to a positive vote this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment is now closed.
All right, terrific. Moving to item L16. First, I am incredibly pleased to be able to present this item and resolution to our board colleague and our Vice President, Commissioner CYNTHIA Ruiz. These moments always are tinged with some degree of regret and sadness. I do not like losing board members. The good news is that you don't lose friends. So I will begin this resolution honoring our departing board member as follows. Whereas Ms. Cynthia M. Ruiz was appointed to the Board of Water and Power Commissioners by Mayor Eric Garcetti and confirmed by the Los Angeles City Council on June 8th, 2022, and appointed as board vice president on June 12th, 2022. And whereas Ms. Ruiz, a lifelong Angelino with a significant history of service to the city of Los Angeles, previously served as commission president for the Los Angeles City Employee Retirement System, whereas she oversaw a multi-billion-dollar pension portfolio. And in addition, she served for nearly 8 years on the City of Los Angeles Board of Public Works starting in 2003, including serving as its president from 2005 to 2011. And whereas Ms. Ruiz, a member of the Cherokee Nation, became the first known member of a federally recognized tribe to serve on the Board of Water and Power Commissioners during its history, she received the Cherokee Nation Community Leader of the Year Award for service to her tribe, as well as the Cherokee Phoenix Seven Feathers Award, and was honored by the Los Angeles Business Journal as Mentor of the Year in 2022. And whereas Ms. Ruiz, through her leadership and commitment to promoting employment opportunities for the Native American community, helped establish LADWP's partnership with Native American tribes and organizations in the Greater Los Angeles region to identify recruitment opportunities, including with the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. And whereas Ms. Ruiz has been a strong voice on the all-female Board of Water and Power Commissioners, advocating for improving access and equity for LADWP's underserved customers, a clean energy future, and sustainable water supply, the advancement of female employees, and a commitment to a diverse and inclusive workforce. And whereas through her leadership of the LADWP Public Works Project Alignment Advisory Committee, Commissioner Ruiz was instrumental in forging the collaboration between LADWP and the City of Los Angeles' Department of Public Works to expand the city's transportation electrification projects and facilitate the installation of electric vehicles chargers. And whereas Ms. Ruiz was assigned to the Owens Valley Tribal Engagement Committee and worked to strengthen LADWP's relationship with the tribes on important matters regarding land and water in the Owens Valley, and met with leaders of the Bishop, Big Pine, Fort Independence, and Lone Pine Paiute tribes of the Owens Valley, as well as the you have to help me, or I am going to butcher the name, Kutzadika tribe of the Mono Basin. And whereas Ms. Ruiz worked to support the sale of land to the Bishop tribe for use as a tribal cemetery, moving the project through hurdles to achieve a purchase and sale agreement under consideration by the tribe. And whereas Ms. Ruiz's tireless support and devotion to the tribes and employees of the Owens Valley and those of the entire Los Angeles Department of Water and Power is very much appreciated. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Water and Power Commissioners, on behalf of the management of this department, its employees, and the residents of the City of LA, thank Ms. Ruiz for her dedicated service and wishes for continued success in all of her endeavors. Be it further resolved that the Secretary be instructed to place this resolution in the minutes of this board as a permanent record, and that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Ms. Ruiz in recognition of her committed dedication to public service in this city. That is the full resolution. I would simply like to add that what is not captured within the four corners of this document is the quiet commitment, the generosity of spirit, and the servant leadership that Commissioner Ruiz has embodied every day that she's served on this board. And for that, we are both better and eternally grateful. So thank you. Before moving to public comment on this matter, I'd like to open the floor to members of the board who may wish to speak. And we'll get to you, Ms. Ruiz. Are there any members that have comments at this time?
Apologies for being late and not hearing the full slate of contributions and accomplishments, but I definitely have been a beneficiary and appreciated so many of them. I wanted to add my gratitude for all of your contributions, but particularly your contributions to the Audit Committee and your collaboration there and what I think we've been able to accomplish in reforming that committee and making it more substantial and meaningful for the organization and how much has been uncovered. It also is a testament to the way you ask questions and how you probe and how much that has really brought things to light. And so it's been a pleasure to have you alongside me, and you'll be missed.
Thank you.
And I'd like to add, as the newer commissioner here, I really appreciated how welcoming you were and how much I've learned from you in my short time here. It's been really an honor serving together, and you will be really missed. And in the times where I've met our tribal partners, I really could see the huge impact that you've had in your time with LADWP, especially in those relationships, but also, of course, in the long list of accomplishments that was shared. But on a personal level, just want to thank you so much for being so welcoming and a wonderful mentor. And I know that you have a long history of public service and will continue serving our city and our community, and hope that we have opportunities to collaborate and work together, and we'll miss you. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you. And gracias por tu espíritu y las contribuciones que has hecho a la comunidad, muy fuertes. Your sort of passion for this community, for our community, is palpable, and I consider you a friend and a mentor, and I think that's for many of us. You are definitely an advisor, and you're sage beyond your years. So I really appreciate the friendship and also the intellectual rigor that you put forward. I learn so much from you. Gracias.
Thank you. General Manager.
Thank you, Madam President. Vice President Ruiz, we are going to miss you greatly. For myself and a number of us here, we've known you for a long time, much longer than your role on the board here. It's interesting to watch you in the building or at meetings and to realize the length and depth of your relationship with so many employees, going back to the roles that you've served in the city for a long time, and so we certainly will miss you and wish you the best in whatever's next. I'm sure there's always a next, because you've been an important part of the city and the city family in various roles for a number of years, and I'm sure there's more good things to come. But I will miss you, and I miss your advice, your perspective on things, really kind of opening our eyes to things we hadn't thought about or considered before, and perspective has helped us a lot to grow and to do a better job at what we do. So thank you, and I, as well as many members of the staff, will miss your being here on the board. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we do have a few things for you from the department. I'd like to start with Simon Zudu from the power system. We'd like to present you with the gift from.
Oh.
It's a little big, but it's fitting for the occasion. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for all your support and leadership. Would like to recognize that, and would like to, on behalf of Power System, to present you with our legendary lamp with a revenue meter.
Don't let him come in to read the meter, though.
Will it be charged? Yes, and if I may, I would like to read inscriptions here. Cynthia M. Ruiz, Vice President, Board of Water and Power Commissioners, in recognitions as a dedicated public servant who is committed to serving the people of Los Angeles, a role model for Native Americans and for all people who want to make a difference in their communities. From your friends and colleagues in Power System, would like to present you with this token of appreciation for your leadership.
Thank you so much.
Should I leave it there?
That's neat.
And Selma has, I know you've done a lot of work with the water system, and particularly in the Owens Valley and in engagement with them, and so he'd like to present something on behalf of the water system.
Thank you, Marty. Commissioner Ruiz, I just want to say thank you very much for your leadership. In the time that you've been on the board, we've had an opportunity to, and many times, communicate, collaborate, and your leadership has been instrumental in a number of areas. Just to mention a few, the Public Works LADWP Joint Task Force that you lead along with Commissioner Reyes, who's on the Public Works Board, has been instrumental in moving forward many of the initiatives that we have in the water system and the city as a whole. And I want to thank you for that. But also especially thank you for your leadership when it comes to being the board representative with the tribes in the Owens Valley. I think you have left an indelible mark in Owens Valley because of all the work you've done over there. And I know for a fact that all the tribes are going to miss you dearly. And they've told us that too. So I have a couple of things that I wanted to give you. First, you know, like I said, your work in the Joint Task Force with Public Works. So I wanted to give you a little something to remember. So I know you like to write. So this is actually an Operation Next pen. So that when you're sitting there writing away your notes, you'll remember Operation Next. So years from now, when it's all built and we are getting all that recycled water, you can remember that you were an instrumental member of the Operation Next team. Also, in the Owens Valley, obviously we have Owens Lake, a very important portion, part of the water system there. And we wanted to give you something a little different. So what I have here for you, and I'll turn it around and hopefully you can see it. What this is actually Trona salt. So Trona salt is only found in two places in California. You either can get it, find it in the Searless Lake, which is in Trona, or in Owens Lake. So this is a piece of Trona salt, it's crystal, that we actually can get in Owens Lake. And just to let you know, the word Trona is an abbreviation of the Arabic word natron, which means salt. So we wanted to give you this on behalf of the water system, specifically, especially in the water operations aqueduct section, where you spend an awful lot of time with those folks. And thank you for your service. I also wanted to give you, since I gave you a pen, I also want to give you a little notepad. This is LADWP SHIP chapter. So all these things to remind you of LADWP as you embark in new adventures. You can remember your LA Water and Power Familia, since I believe you know that you are officially a madrina or a godmother for LADWP SHIP. And I know they have some things to say as well. And lastly, I wanted to give you something on behalf of actually the Kusadika tribe. So Chairwoman Charlotte Lang asked that we personally deliver this to you. Is a handmade beaded jewelry that was made by a member of the Kusadika tribe. And they asked us to present this to you on their behalf. And on behalf of all of us in the water system, thank you for all your service.
Oh, boy. Thank you, Simon, and thank you, Anselmo.
Loot. All right. I also understand that we have guests who wish to offer public comment on this particular item. Do you have the names or?
I do not at this time.
All right. I know that we have representatives from SHIP that are here that would like to speak. Oh, my. Well, we will begin with former commissioner, DWP retiree, current commissioner at the Board of Public Works, and, you know, my almost everything, Susanna Reyes, Commissioner.
Good morning, everyone. Very pleased to be here, honored, and kind of sad but happy at the same time for VP Cynthia Ruiz. I also came bearing gifts for you, some swag from LA Sanitation, and I'll be speaking later on Operation Next. But first and foremost, just want to express my heartfelt gratitude for being my partner in crime at the task force that we established through my good friend Cynthia McCLAIN-HILL, where I expressed like we gotta do something between the Department of Public Works, the Board of Public Works, and our LADWP in order to make sure that our high-level, top priority infrastructure projects are done on time and done efficiently, and we've maximized those resources.
And done on budget.
And on budget. And we, Cynthia Ruiz and I, really have the experience on both sides. She having worked with the Board of Public Works and me having worked here and then traded slots. It worked very well. I thank you personally, from the bottom of my heart, for working very closely with me on the issues that we're facing. I will miss you. We all will miss you. I know LA Sanitation talked about it, spoke about it, and wanted to see, okay, what's next? I know great things are coming, and you, for some reason, will have or stamp your legacy there as having started that task force with me. And thank you so much for everything that you've done, your kindness, your generosity, your charisma, your spirit, and really helping guide that task force alongside myself. I just want to be here to personally speak about it so that you know that we will sincerely miss you, and we are forever going to be grateful for all the things that you've done, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
So for sanitation, not to be outdone. Anselmo, when you retire, Anselmo, I will also give you something.
Something. Let me know if I need to like gavel her down.
Wow. That's awesome. And like Vanna White. It's yours electric. To remind us. Reduce, reuse, recycle, everyone. Conserve water. And all the good things that we're doing. Because we still have a lot of other stuff here on like recycling stuff. But I think this is worth giving you. We don't have a lot of this. We have a limited budget for our squad. I had to beg, steal, borrow, as usual. But we did it. This is for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your partnership.
Any Any other member of the public with comments?
Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. I'm Evelyn Cortez Davis, and as the Executive Advisor for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, I'm so thankful for the opportunity to celebrate the contributions and servant leadership of Vice President Cynthia Ruiz. I am humbled in the presence of generosity and kindness and service that you have exemplified since joining this board, and so grateful for the opportunity to have learned from your example. I am here along with two of our rising ship leaders who have a special presentation for you.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioner. My name is Wilfredo Paz Bermudez. I am a civil engineering associate in the water system, and I'm also the current Vice President of Chapter Development here at the LADWP Society of Professional Hispanic Engineers chapter, and I'm the incoming president for 2023-2024.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jocelyn Fonseca Palacios, an architectural associate in the power system, and I am the current communications chair for LADWP SHIP and the incoming Vice President of Chapter Development. And we're here to present you with a certificate. But prior to presenting the certificate, I do want to give you an explanation of the significance of the imagery that you will see, because it does represent the four pillars of SHIP: continuous improvement, service, resilience, and familia, family. So the illustration depicts that that water and power is feeding the terrain to provide resources to nurture our familia on the bottom left. And as you continue seeing, we have the familia climbing to the highest peak of a mountain in Americas, which is Aconcagua, which represents, it's represented by the topographic map. So as we climb, we are continuously improving, acquiring new levels of knowledge, not only beneficial to ourselves, but also for our community, which represents service. Despite the altitude and the weather conditions, resilience is represented by the colorful flowers that thrive in its peak. Thank you.
And I would like to read to you the certificate. It says, on behalf of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, LADWP SHIP, please accept our gratitude and appreciation for your unwavering support of the LADWP SHIP's mission and all of the LADWP employees. Your leadership and contributions have been invaluable in advancing the representation of Latinos in STEM at LADWP and beyond. It is leaders like you who encourage innovation, teamwork, and excellence. June 2023. So on behalf of the LADWP SHIP's 100 members, thank you for your leadership.
Is there any other public comment? Sir?
Good morning, everyone. Miguel Luna, I'm here as a community member and a customer of your services. I won't speak on behalf of all customers, but I just did want to take this opportunity to publicly thank you for your representation, which really matters. I think everybody understands that representation is extremely important, not just for myself, but I think for future generations and our children to see themselves in you, and I think many of us do. I'll just close by saying that, you know, your advocacy wasn't only appreciated, but I think it was essential and necessary and will continue to be so. So thank you so much for your friendship and for all the work that you do on water and that you've done for the city and you'll continue to do and will continue to follow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Miguel.
So with that, we will close public comments on L16 and
So I would like to say a few words.
yes, ma'am.
So as I close out this chapter in my life, my heart is filled with gratitude. I always say that, yes, we're water and power, but we're really nothing without the people. And I've been able to reconnect with so many amazing people that I've met along my journey and make new friends. And as I go into this next chapter of my life, you know, I have to admit, I really thought I had longer here. I mean, the year went by so fast, and I feel like there's so much more work to be done. But what I am a little bit disappointed about is losing the Native voice. I have tried to be the Native voice because I represent 3 constituencies. I represent women, and I'm happy that this is an all-female board, but as I depart, that's going to be dismantled. I have represent the Latinos. I was part of the Latino Equity Initiative, which is a coalition of 35 different Latino organizations that are fighting for more Latino and Latina representation on boards and commission. And then, of course, there's my Native American side. And I have been able to be the Native voice because we know that LADWP history has been sordid when it comes to the tribes, especially the tribes in Owens Valley. So I'm disheartened over the fact that when I walk out the door today that the voice will be gone, that there will not be representation. So I asked Marty that, you know, right now we don't have a tribal liaison. I understand that it's going to take about 4 months to bring on a tribal liaison, but I'm asking you to expedite that. Because the tribes, not only in Owens Valley but locally, are very disappointed that they will not have representation. And being the first Native American on this board, I have to admit, coming into it, I didn't realize how many tribal issues there are, not only in the Owens Valley but locally. And so representation matters. So I hope we can get the tribal liaison. I hope that there is a voice, a seat at the table for Natives in the future on this commission because it is so important. So in Cherokee, we don't have a word for goodbye because we believe that we will see each other again. And so as I close out my chapter in my life on this board, I'd like to say Wado, which is thank you in Cherokee. So thank you very much.
At this juncture, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the resolution honoring Commissioner Ruiz, L16. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'd like to put that motion forward.
Terrific. And a second?
Second.
Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Am I supposed to vote on my own?
You may vote on your own resolution. There is no leaving the room for that.
With unanimous consent, 5 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you so very much. And again, this is a bittersweet day, but thank you, and thank you for your remarks. If we could move into the General Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam President and Board of Commissioners. I'll try to be brief. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately in your comments earlier, we covered a lot of ground that I wanted to mention, but I'll just briefly say that, again, on the Pride Month celebration, we're really happy that so many of our employees took part in that, and thank you for being there, and as well as Greg Reed, who I'm going to send to dancing lessons, I think. But that being said, I would like to have been there. I was out of town on a business trip, unfortunately. But, one of the reasons we celebrate these events so much is that it is very important for us to demonstrate to our employees and the community that we serve that we are an inclusive workplace. And we are here to make sure that everyone feels comfortable at work, that has all the opportunities possibly afforded to them they can be at work, and that everyone is treated fairly without judgment or bias. And so, celebrating with the formation of Pride, who we will hear about from next board meeting, and being there to support them at the Pride Parade was very important move for the department. So thank you on that. On Juneteenth, you're correct. So tomorrow morning is 10:30. We'd like to invite all employees to join us down on the L level, right outside the credit union on the south end of the building, is where we'll have art display themed and Still We Rise. It'll be a photo exhibit, and it'll be a very moving event. Remembering that the Juneteenth, this is only the second year we celebrated. Last year, remember the holiday happened kind of at the spur of the moment without a lot of chance to get organized, and actually we pushed the city very hard on that to make sure that the decision was made, because we felt it was very important. So it is important that we really explain to employees why we're commemorating this event and why it's a holiday, not just a day off work. So we have the photo exhibit tomorrow morning opening. On Thursday in the park, right towards City Hall, the Gloria Molina Grand Park, the NSBE group here at the Department of Water and Power, as well as our Water and Power African American Association, are hosting a Juneteenth Freedom Day celebration. It's at lunchtime. I don't have the exact time, but it's right around our lunchtime. So we invite employees to participate in that. And then, of course, on Juneteenth itself, which is a holiday, we are a major sponsor in an event at LEHRER Park from noon till 9 p.m. That's on Monday. The event is being labeled as powered by LADWP. We will be featuring one of our Ford F-150 Lightnings, one of our Mustang Mach-E's. I'm going to take yours, put it down there. So Mustang Mach-E's, as well as one of our sedans that are wrapped. We'll have our solar panel and water truck there. We have corporate booth. We'll be providing recruitment information, as well as information for our customers on Easy Save, Cool LA, and other customer programs. Greg Sarvis from Power New Business and Electrification is going to moderate a panel with CBOs on EVs and to try to get more word out to the public about that. And our board president, Commissioner McCLAIN-HILL, will be actually introducing and sharing a message with an audience before one of the musical performers that day. So I encourage all our employees to go visit the celebrations at LEHRER Park and participate in the Juneteenth celebration. Thank you for pointing out the Father's Day celebration. That was something new that came about and actually was very well received, and appreciate the people who participated in that by sending in pictures of themselves or their families or their own fathers to be recognized.
We're actually still taking pictures, so anybody that hasn't sent a picture in yet and wants to see their family on the board, get one to communications. Really, it's quite a sight to behold.
Yeah, it's nice to see the recognition, so we appreciate that. I did want to make the board aware that we did a significant step toward achieving our 100% clean energy goals. We recently extended our power sales agreement with SCAPA. We were supporting the extension of upgrading wind turbines that will allow us to get an additional 4 years of service from 2030 to 2034. It'll extend the lifespan of the project, and it'll save us a little over $72 million over 4 years. So it'll bring us very affordable wind energy, amounting to enough to power 116,000 homes in Los Angeles, and extends that project by additional 4 years. So that's an important move forward for us, and in making the best use of both renewable energy availability as well as our ratepayers funding for that. And then I also want to mention that I know our President McCLAIN-HILL was joined by Ms. Dolores Huerta, Mayor Karen Bass, Councilmember Curran Price, and Southern California Kaiser Foundation, as well as Emil Abdel Shahid, who is our Assistant Director of New Business and Electrification. Did the ribbon cutting for the Dolores Huerta Apartments in South Los Angeles. And it was named in honor of Ms. Huerta and her influential labor activist work and her co-founding of the United Farm Workers Association. It's 100% affordable housing development, and it's an example of what we are doing to support the city's efforts and the mayor's efforts in ED1 to help make affordable housing available and to speed up that process. And through the work of Simon and his team, they have a number of projects in the works. I know there's a report coming to the board on our status in the next, I think it's in July, the report is, but I'll give you a preview and I'll tell you that we are meeting our commitments and are actually ahead of the game. So we are doing very well. So I appreciate all the work that Power's done and being part of making that happen.
Sí se puede. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. And lastly, I'd like to introduce Luis Gutierrez, probably sitting in the back corner. There we go. Luis is he's the Director of Energy and Water for Deputy Mayor Nancy Sutley. So he will be the new liaison to the Department of Water and Power. So Doug Tripp from our staff has been filling in since Nancy took her role there, and Doug will be returning. And Luis comes from Southern California Edison, correct? And so he'll be joining the mayor's. He's actually 2 weeks into the mayor's staff, and he'll be a regular face with the board at our board meeting. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments on the General Manager's report? Seeing none, we can move to next item. I'm not aware of any motions for future consideration. So we'll go to comments from Ratepayer Advocate. Dr. Pickle, I know you had comments on agendized items. Did you want to provide them now, or would you like those items called special?
I see no reason to call them special unless the board wants to. But if that's the case, I would like to walk through the presentation briefly.
Okay, I think that would be great. I only have one item that the department has asked. Okay, I only have one item that the department's asked to be deferred, and that is L1. Are there any other items that commissioners would like to have called?
Yeah, I think we need to call L2 in order for me to recuse myself.
Okay, got it.
It's a University of California.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had L12.
And L9.
And L9. Okay. All right. Dr. Pickle.
Inflation has been a big factor in all our lives over the past few years, and it has been a big factor in DWP's costs. My chart shows a presentation of inflation tracked from 2012 through the first quarter of 2023. And you see the chart and arrows on the chart pointing as to when the current rates were proposed and when the current rates were approved in early 2016. And a rate review was planned in late 2020, but it was deferred because of concerns over COVID. Well, inflation from 2012, when the OPA started up, to that time when that rate review, which was deferred, was supposed to start, inflation went up about 14% over 8 years. In the under 3 years since that time, inflation has gone up 16%, more than that 14% in the first 8 years. So inflation has been affecting DWP operations. There was an adjustment added in the 2016 rate case that allows capture of some inflation, inflation less 2%. but these adjustments are deferred over a long period. For example, in the base rate revenue target that's part of the package of items before you today, it is based on inflation during calendar year 2022, but it won't appear in rates until January 1, 2025, a 3-year gap. So adjustments for inflation are important for DWP, and the package before you does capture a lot of those components. Last month, in the last board meeting, we supported the final budget, and we supported approval of changes in recovery methods in terms of where various costs were included in the rates. And we recommended updating the bill and rate forecasts in these quarterly adjustments that are done by DWP. Today, we recommend approval of all the items proposed related to these factors. Those are items L6, L7, L8, L9, and L10. And we also recommend outreach and education to all customers, especially those in vulnerable classes, because there are some significant increases. And we also want to make sure customers have their awareness raised on conservation programs and other bill reduction activities that they can undertake. Our commentary is we're required as part of our enabling ordinance to comment on reasonableness of these rate changes. We believe these adjustment factor changes and the proposed rates are reasonable when combined with outreach efforts on rates and bill reduction. And in addition, substantial uncertainty remains for this year because rates are ultimately determined by taking overall costs and dividing by sales. And sales are very uncertain in the utility industry, and they have been for over a decade. Now, so we'll take you back to something that was in the appendix of the rate presentation by Ann Santilli. The focus today is on adjustments for power adjustments related to power, with only the base rate revenue target adjustment for water included, and that doesn't change rates now. It won't. That particular component won't impact rates until 2025. So the major things are the energy cost adjustments and recovery of costs related to maintaining the distribution system and improving the distribution system. So here's where we are in the process. There'll be additional rate components in September related to the energy cost adjustment, and in November relating to 2022-23 sales, and that will appear in rates in January 1, 24. Now, how big are these? On the water side, which is the left-hand chart, for various customer classes, typical bills, some will go up, some will go down. Unfortunately, the downs are bigger than the ups from a ratepayer perspective. On the residential side, for power, some of the percentages are high, 9% in some of the lowest usage categories, and often those are the lowest income categories. The percentage is 9%. The bill is expected to go up about $5 a month in those categories for the low users. In some of those categories, $5 is a significant amount of money, especially multiplied by 12. So we feel it's important that this DWP make people aware of these changes and also make them aware of conservation and other alternatives that might be able to help them with their bills. So DWP should go ahead with outreach programs, and as part of the outreach, a focus should be on conservation programs and other assistance programs that can be offered rapidly enough to reduce bills for this summer's power use. These rates take effect July 1, and they start averaging into bills shortly after that date. Bills are split over a 2-month cycle. Any questions?
See none. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Particularly appreciate the focus on making sure that we're transparent with our customers. So we will then move to discussion with neighborhood councils. Are there any impact statements?
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on any of the items on today's agenda.
Terrific. Then we are at H, and at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items L3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 13, 14, and 15. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second, would you call the roll?
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. We will then move to management reports, beginning with Operation Next. And before that report is presented, we have a public speaker on that item, Commissioner Ruiz. I'm sorry, Commissioner Reyes.
I get to speak twice today. Thank you.
You're like putting in work today.
Working. Good morning, President McCLAIN-HILL. Good morning, board and leadership staff and city attorney. First of all, I would like to start with thanking this board and your staff for your support and leadership in promoting water conservation, groundwater cleanup, and all the infrastructure projects and investments for recycled water and stormwater, all to reduce our city's reliance on imported water in light of climate change and the more frequent droughts that we are experiencing and will be experiencing in the near future. Municipalities and utilities across the region and the state are tapping into wastewater as a new source of water. And similarly, LADWP and LA-SAN, our LA Sanitation and Environment, have established the task force that I referred to earlier, and we meet monthly to facilitate and expedite recycled water planning and implementation in Los Angeles and establish coordinated approach by the two departments. And we would like the task force to continue, possibly in perpetuity, right? Because we have so many infrastructure projects. There's so much money coming from the feds as well, and we need to take advantage of that. Recycled water is the largest local source of water that is readily available to offset the import of water and to replenish diminishing reservoirs and groundwater basins. While the extraordinary amount of rain and snow of this past winter have provided much relief for California, it is temporary, and the need for more recycled water remains. So our LA Sanitation and Environment and LADWP have been working together on recycled water for several decades already, going back to the late 1970s when Marty was already here. I'm sorry. When the city started with a purple pipe conveyance system for non-potable reuse. And this partnership has evolved over the years to transforming our wastewater treatment plants into water reclamation facilities to produce more recycled water, as well as to expand its use from non-potable to potable. When I first came on board as a commissioner for the Board of Public Works and was appointed as the lead over LA Sanitation and Environment, one of the first things I did was to visit each and every one of the reclamation plants. And the Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant was awesome. It was the first plant really in the city to become 100% recycled water. And in 2017, and that was in 2017, and now it produces recycled water for the Dominguez Gap seawater intrusion barrier. More recently, only a few months ago, the two departments agreed to move forward with the design and construction of the advanced water purification facility at the Donald Tillman plant. When I first arrived there, it was paused. That project was paused for so many reasons. And so we acted and had a plan, and now this project will produce up to 19 million gallons per day of new recycled water to supplement the groundwater basins in the San Fernando Valley. So thank you for LADWP's team for working and collaborating with LA Sanitation on this project. And the next challenge, and which you will hear today, the update, is the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant, a tremendous resource because of its existing infrastructures and with the potential to provide up to 50% of the city's total potable water demand. So I am here to thank you and to encourage that, to continue that collaboration, because it is only in partnership where we will realize the fruits of our labor and we are going to have a sustainable future. Water is life. Wastewater is the potential to have more potable water. We will continue this partnership and develop a program that will meet the city's goals for more local water supply. And our planning efforts on the LA Sanitation and Environment for Hyperion 2035 and LADWP's master plan, by the way, we are combining that name, right, are complementary and they inform each other. We only have one water. The end result will be one combined plan, cohesive combined plan. We look forward to finalizing this plan, transition to the actual implementation, and establish cost-sharing agreements between the two departments that will expedite the implementation of recycled water in Los Angeles. I appreciate this opportunity to speak here today and look forward to providing more updates to your board in the future. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I do want to assure you that there will be an appointment to the Project Alignment Advisory Committee, so we will continue that work. And while I know that we have paused the meeting for this month, we will be up and running again by July. So look forward to that. Sir.
All right, Commissioner Reyes took my thunder, so presentation. In all seriousness, good afternoon, President McCLAIN-HILL, Vice President Ruiz, and Commissioners. It's been a while since I was last in front of this board, fall of 2021, so it's been a little bit. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and present and provide an update of where we are with Operation Next. So a quick recap, this initiative was launched in early 2019. And so what you'll see is that this is truly an extraordinary, ambitious program that we see will set the city on a path to water independence. But you asked the question of why is this necessary? And so we know that all of our existing supplies have their inherent challenges. And with climate change, more hydrologic variability, wetter wets, drier dries. What we're seeing is that these traditional supplies are increasingly strained. And so what we'd like to do is essentially continue to diversify our water supply portfolio. So if there's challenges to one particular supply, it doesn't need to an overall loss of system reliability. And we see Operation Next as a cornerstone to that strategy. So Operation Next alone will not produce water from the city. As you just heard Commissioner Reyes, there's a Hyperion 2035. So there's two programs in the city with this distinct drivers aimed at maximizing recycled waters. You have Operation Next, which is the conveyance piece of the pipe, the finished water, excuse me, not the pipe, the program, finished water, but then you have the source water, which is Hyperion. And so the driver for LA San is permit compliance for discharges, as well as environmental stewardship, where we have the water supply portion of it. So through Operation X, we look to maximize the amount of recycled water we can get out of Hyperion by replenishing our aquifers. And putting it into the LA Aqueduct Filtration Plant as direct potable reuse. From the LA San perspective is, along with the facility reaching the end of its service life and they have to begin making significant improvements, how can you leverage that in order to help the water recycled water initiative? And so looking at modernization of Hyperion is critical in order to produce a higher quality water that would enter an advanced water purification facility that would then go throughout the city. And in regards to the partnership, Commissioner Reyes just touched on it. We meet regularly with LA San. We have staff level meetings. We have monthly executive level meetings, and then the joint task force meetings that I want to thank Vice President Ruiz for leading that effort and has, aside from just Hyperion, there's been multiple other initiatives that we work closely with LA San on that we've been able to make breakthroughs because of the leadership that we've seen from Vice President Ruiz. So at the end, before I leave this slide, so the end goal is, again, we're working to merge the two programs, find alignment in terms of our schedules so that as Hyperion is modernized, pipes in the ground, ready to accept water. And so it really does require a holistic approach in how you undertake the master planning effort. So this slide outlines the strategy for the program. So our holistic approach, you can see here, is the concept of buckets. What we're looking to do is replenish groundwater aquifers, look for regional partnerships, see if we can do augmentation in our existing open reservoirs. But also strategic priority is to get water to the northern end of our system in Sylmar, so the LA Aqueduct filtration plant. And so the idea is the master plan is going to look at a suite of scenarios, recommend a short list, and from there we can bring back to the board, this is what the analysis showed, and we can comfortably defend the analysis that pushes forward a certain alternative. What's the timing for the master plan? I have a slide on that, but it's about another year or so of master planning, but I'll show where we are. So okay, I'll touch on it a little bit. So coordination efforts are underway with local agencies to determine the feasibility of partnerships. So we've been spending a lot of time meeting with potential partners and figuring out what that would look like. And so again, it's all going to depend on which strategies we think will work best for the city.
Can you just, it says reservoirs, IPR and DPR. What reservoirs are going to have DPR? So there's two, so IPR, indirect portable reuse, if you have, you're looking at the open reservoirs that are currently out of service. So you have, for example, Stone Canyon Reservoir, Hollywood. So depending which alignment we select, there might be a reservoir that might be closer that might be worth looking at, saying, okay, it's not that far, we can put water in there with certain residence time, then you can treat the water further. It's technically a form of indirect portable reuse if you have the residence time in IPR. For DPR would be more like the LA Aqueduct, LA Reservoir. So that's our operating facility. Water's already treated, it's part of your potable system, but you will have to, and I go a little bit into this a little bit more in the future slides, but you treat the water to the higher quality level where it can directly interface with your potable system. So those were the two. Okay, so Hollywood, the LA filtration plants reservoir, that's where the DPR?
Yeah, LA Reservoir would be DPR. And Stone Canyon, Hollywood Reservoir, those are a form of IPR where you put the water in, and so depending on the rate that you're taking water out, you need certain residence time. So it may limit. So that's part of the calculation. It may limit the amount that you could actually put in if you don't have the residence time there within the reservoir before you get it out. So if it's too small, it may not be worth it. But we're looking at it. We're looking. Our charge was to take a look at additional scenarios, and that's one of the ones that's on the table. So we can either rule it in or rule it out. All right, so briefly what our strategy looks like. Once modernized, Hyperion will produce a higher quality water source than it currently discharges today, and that water will go into an advanced treatment facility. So you look at the diagram here, left to right. Once you and I'm going to go into the technologies that they're looking at for the modernization in the next slide. But indirect potable reuse, which is the green arrows there, that represents groundwater replenishment. So the water is stored in the ground, resides there for a while, and once you have enough residence time in the ground, you get additional natural filtration and treatment. The water can be safely extracted and treated and served to our customers. Now, direct potable reuse, which you see on the right, refers to direct integration into our potable system through either surface water augmentation or even pipe to pipe. And so what it takes to get from IPR to DPR is additional level of treatment that is not only necessary but required to safely integrate that water supply. And so direct potable reuse regulations are still being developed by the State Water Board Division of Drinking Water, but we do expect those to be finalized by the end of the year. And these regulations, we've seen drafts. We kind of know what direction the state is going in, but we do need these to be finalized before we take an action forward, because you don't want to make assumptions and then you have to pivot in a given direction. So a little bit on the source water. I've shown this slide before. This Hyperion Water Reclamation Facility, owned and operated by LA San. And just to orient yourselves, the beaches off the page to the bottom. And as we look at how we're going to maximize water from Hyperion, the first step is to take water from a modernized Hyperion and run it through an advanced water purification facility. And so in animating this, you see that essentially requires retrofitting of about half of the footprint of the entire facility, which is total facility about 115 acres. And so the water would they would replace the existing biological treatment that exists, the high purity oxygen activated sludge reactors, with membrane bioreactors. And so you'd get higher quality water, which would then run through reverse osmosis, ultraviolet, advanced oxidation. So this represents one scenario where all of the treatment would be within the footprint of Hyperion. So this even includes, this scenario even includes direct potable reuse. So adding, as prescribed in the draft direct potable reuse regulations, addition of biological activated carbon, ozone treatment, and that would prepare the water for direct potable reuse applications. And so we are charged with looking at a variety of scenarios. So that not only includes
Wait, can I ask you a question? So this is fantastic and very excited. Yeah, happy to see moving to MBRs. Practically, though, on this that slide that you had previously. Yep. How do you manage the existing recycled water or the process? What's going to happen as this is getting implemented, right? Because this is replacing something.
So there is a phasing plan that LA San is working on. So that's one of the things is you're reconfiguring half of the facility all while it's still accepting wastewater for treatment and discharge. And essentially the way sewage currently flows, it comes in on the east side and flows through the reactors from east to west. So it makes it from on the page top to bottom. So you're isolating reactors and taking them out of service, and they're going to stage how they convert some of these from the current activated sludge over to membrane bioreactors. And so, it's I would say Herculean effort to do that, but because it's Hyperion, and Hyperion is also a god, it's a Hyperion-sized effort to do it. And so, it is tremendous to do that. But and in looking at how we're working with LA San is how the phasing is going to work in order, again, as they convert over to membrane bioreactor technology and are able to produce a higher quality effluent, at that point then that we have the advanced treatment facilities in place, that we have the pipe in place to accept the water.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons that the project alignment effort is so critically important, because all of this execution gets to the very, very, very detailed minutia, and without that level of coordination, we don't get there. I'm looking forward to not only the committee's continued work, but Susanna and I've cooked up quite a few schemes, including a joint board meeting, so that we can come together with Public Works and our department and get a presentation that begins to look at all of these things in context. As I know this is LA's future, and we've got to approach it with the level of rigor and collaboration that that resulted in the building of the aqueduct. And that's the challenge and the opportunity before us.
Yeah, that was one of the challenges before, is that we had two different departments with two different programs. So with the Joint Task Force, our efforts have been trying to let's all work together and look at this holistically, because everything is interrelated. And so, Rafael, I just want to thank you for working so hard and being so open, because when we first had the Joint Task Force meetings between Public Works and DWP, everybody was like, I don't know about this. But now I really do believe there's a sense of collaboration. And like you said, there's at all different levels. So I just want to thank you for all your hard work, and I know that you're going to continue to work hard, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And because of the spirit of collaboration that has been fostered, we've actually had our respective consultant teams even getting together and talking and coming up with ideas for early deliveries. And so instead of waiting till the water gets to the valley and building a giant pipe, is what can we do to get water out of Hyperion more quickly? And so then we started then looking at, well, how's Hyperion going to phase and start putting water in, and what does our schedule look like, and what can we potentially do? And so it really did start leading to some scenarios where we're like, hey, I think we can do this in X window, and it's just a matter of establishing or agreeing on the roles and responsibilities of how we move forward, which I know is still a big question we're addressing, but in essence, we're getting there in terms of putting the strategies to the point where, okay, if we are to move forward, this is how we're going to go. And so, but not if, but when we move forward, this is how we're going to go. So currently, as part of the master planning effort, in addition to looking at scenarios of where we're going to send water, what kind of partnerships need to be in place, financial strategies, and storage. We also thought that it was imperative that we started looking just at Hyperion as well, if it's going to be feathered into the overall planning effort, how it integrates with the overarching program. So looking at different scenarios. This is a little bit of a technical slide, but I thought it was important to point out some of the strategies. And what you see here, the HPO refers to high purity oxygen, the system that currently exists at Hyperion. Some of the water is recycled through West Basin Municipal Water District. The rest goes out to the ocean. And so looking at alternatives that are potential for on-site, so reflective of the slide you just saw of everything within all the treatment within the fence line, you can convert here. You see membrane bioreactor technology. The benefit of that treatment is that you can go directly to reverse osmosis without having to do anything in between. Ultraviolet, advanced oxidation, and then you have indirect potable reuse quality water that you can put in the ground today. The regulations already exist. Pretty straightforward. Now, if you want to move to direct potable reuse, you would have to add additional treatment here on, there's a couple of options. So in the draft regulations, there's two ways you can go. So the first is this is the prescribed method. You can add additional treatment, ozone, biological activated carbon, and you'd likely need microfiltration ahead of your advanced treatment. So advanced treatment starts with RO. And so the other alternative is a downstream treatment to polish the water after it's gone through advanced treatment, and then you can use that for direct potable reuse. And that's under the alternatives clause in the draft regulations. And so, in looking at those two, the challenge with doing the prescribed treatment is that you're treating every single drop of water to direct potable reuse standards coming out of Hyperion, and so a significant part of the water is slated to go in the ground. So in essence, it's not inexpensive proposition to do this prescribed train to then put the water in the ground and treat it, have to extract it and treat it again. So what we're looking at is focusing on indirect potable reuse, and that's the level of treatment that comes from the west side. And then if you're going to do direct potable reuse, it's point of use. So if it's going to be either we blend with well water, we blend at the LA Aqueduct Filtration Plant, then you do your polishing of the water there, and that's what this represents, sort of a downstream polishing just for the amount of water that it will require. Moving on to alternative trains that we're also looking at. I said we're looking at the blue sky possibilities. Again, membrane bioreactor technology, or even keeping the high purity oxygen or converting to air activated sludge as opposed to the high purity oxygen. You could move these facilities offsite, and you set up benefit is you don't landlock Hyperion for future developments is one, and then two, you maintain the traditional functions of wastewater treatment and water production, and so that's where you can go offsite with reverse osmosis. Well, the treatment's the same. It's for the bottom one. If you go with the traditional activated sludge, you would need microfiltration. So recently, the developments between when we submitted the presentation to the presentation today, we did come to a conclusion that the membrane bioreactor technology is actually the recommended alternative for Hyperion, just because it not only provides higher quality water for the advanced treatment, but from LA Sands' perspective was that the way they see regulations for discharge regulations coming down the pipe over the next decade or so is that this treatment scheme will set them up to be able to remain in compliance well into the future. So again, we talked about multiple drivers, and so how do you then leverage the two to maximize recycled water? And again, looking at what you can do downstream, we are going to be piloting some of these technologies as downstream so we can investigate the alternative clause. The idea, again, is to not overspend and treat every single drop of water to potable standards if a lot of that water is going to go in the ground. So when I last presented to the board, I presented an alternative that was very city-centric. And if you recall, it was roughly $16 billion, large backbone pipeline to the valley capable of carrying every drop of water from Hyperion. And so I presented on the potential costs, resource needs, timing, and overall impact to LADWP. And it was big, and it's still going to be big. But at the conclusion of that presentation, the board advised that we take another look. We sharpen our pencils. And have outside experts review the strategy and develop recommendations. So this was, I understand, similar to the approach that LA 100 undertook to take a look at the universe of alternatives. So we pivoted to a master plan, and so we leaned on one of our existing contracting mechanisms to bring a consultant team on board to look at it, and at a high level we asked them validate the work that we've done to date. It took 3 years to present the material. It was a lot of technical information that I presented the last time around. It took 3 years to develop that, and so we asked them validate the approach. Is it sound? If not, develop a range of scenarios with associated costs, and we were asked to also look at rate-based revenue requirements for the program, also identify partnerships, funding strategies, identify opportunities for phasing, and identifying major milestones and potential off-ramps, or what I'd like to call triggers, because I think the program needs to happen. And so it's just a matter of, if you get to here, then what do you need to make you successful into the next step. So here's my slide on the master plan. So here's the overall schedule. We initiated the master plan in early 2022, and because of the many moving pieces, we do expect it to go through the middle of next year. This band here represents the various board briefings on the program. You can see the November 2021 briefing. You can see today's briefing, and then a future undated briefing or unscheduled briefing that my expectation is that once we receive a 60% plan that has rough concepts in there to come back before the board and allow the board to provide meaningful input before the final plan is finalized. Now, public outreaches, well, excuse me, I missed the band here. The partnerships. So one of the main themes the last time around was find partnerships, and so we spent a good part of the last year and actually ongoing is meeting with agencies to figure out what partnerships would look like. So in talking with LA County Public Works, Metropolitan Water District, Water Replenishment District, again, continue to coordinate with LA San and some of the smaller cities as well to see if there's opportunities to partner. And finally, outreach is a key strategy. So we plan to share with stakeholders the finding at intervals of completion of 30, 60, 90%. And we did recently complete a briefing on the master plan to all of the council offices. So that was a precursor to going out and meeting with our stakeholders. And so based on where we are, the idea was to get the 30% plan and then go out. But based on where we are, we just received it about 2 weeks ago, the 30% plan. Based on where we're going on for the review, the public meetings may start maybe a month or two longer than what it's shown there. So in broad strokes, this is what.
I need to take you back to the schedule. So we like once dates being put on the page that they're met. So, and often we prefer if they were beaten. A year from now seems like a reasonable amount of time. This is quite an orchestrated effort, so I don't want to diminish that. But any more than that would really feel like too long. We need to get moving. We have to get out of planning and get into doing. A lot of these steps are in our control, and there's only probably one that's not on this page that I feel like is out of our control, and that's getting the regulations at the end of the year. How much would that derail us meeting this deadline? And aside from that, is there anything else that is outside of our control that we should be aware of now?
Sorry. Okay, so the things that are outside of our control is one, obviously the regulations. We've seen drafts. The state has been fairly transparent in the process, so we have an idea of where it's going to go. The only thing is if for doing the alternative clause as opposed to the prescribed treatment for direct potable reuse, you have to pilot it and do additional studies, bench scale, pilot scale, to test out that you are going to meet or exceed what they've already prescribed. So that's the.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. This technology is all proven. So what are you testing?
So you have to test for you have different technologies that get you certain log removal credits. So what's prescribed in the regs is the direct potable reuse treatment goes ahead of the reverse osmosis, the advanced treatment. And so our concern with that is that it's an expensive proposition to do that. So we want to lean on the alternatives clause, but the alternatives clause is not prescribed. So it's up to the agencies to develop a mechanism on how they plan to meet or exceed what they've prescribed. And so, when you're talking in excess of $300 an acre foot just to add this, to treat the potable to simply put in the ground, we thought it'd be best to try and pilot.
Volumes to the most cost effective.
And direct potable reuse won't occur till we get to the valley. And so we have time to do that. So that's why the priority is indirect potable reuse. And even if we look at early deliveries on the west side of town, that's all indirect potable reuse related. Another thing that's outside of potentially outside of our control is how partnerships play out. So depending if a natural partner would be Metropolitan Water District and partnering on their pure water Southern California, but if we aren't able to send X amount of water, we may have to size our facilities going north bigger, smaller, so just depending how those negotiations work out. And we do meet with them fairly regularly, and Ensemble part of a regional water reuse collaborative that's led by MWD to look for that type of alignment. So just kind of depending on how those efforts work out as well, that we're developing the concepts so that way once an alternative comes into focus, we can more quickly run with it. But those are the two big things that I think would be out of our control. Another thing, obviously, would be funding, but what we are trying to do, we've had meetings with Bureau of Reclamations to ensure that to the extent possible, our master plan meets a standard for feasibility study. So we received we have their requirements. We developed a crosswalk document and said the master plan is going to hit this, but it's not going to hit these other things. Okay, how do we fill those gaps? So where does the expertise exist internally that we can then begin to populate and have a very robust document that would get us most of the way there. So in that sense, that's where all the moving pieces are to it. And we do have an all hands on deck approach. We did what I presented the last go around was a culmination of 3 years of work, and so we're trying to squeeze it down to 2, but we do have more resources and are going to be able to look at a lot more things. One of the tools that we will have at hand is an assessment tool that's looking dynamically at different flows to different directions that at the same time is going to size the pipe and then can calculate costs, and allows you to do optioneering more quickly than using a simple spreadsheet. And so I do expect that over the next couple of months we will start seeing these alternatives come more into focus.
And Rafael, the other thing I think is important and potentially out of our control is public perception. I mean, if you look at the history of sanitation, the public has stopped, projects. And so I think that's why it's so important to not only have public outreach, but a strategy to really educate the community and at large on the importance of this. And that goes back to why partnership is so important.
Yes, and thank you for that, Vice President Ruiz. And part of the lessons learned, we've been investigating other recycled water projects and seeing the fate of the East Valley Recycled Water Project in 2000 for DWP, and the struggles that LA County Sanitation had in the 90s, along with San Diego had back in the 90s trying to stand up their recycled water program. You saw a roadmap in what Orange County did. So in the wake of all of our programs suffering, they were able to stand up a program, and so we're looking to that and what succeeded. And the outreach was a big piece of it. Respect for the roles in terms of like what's water, what's sanitation, and trying to use that as a template, and to try not to fall back into what we struggled with in the past. So that's part of the strategy of what we're looking at, and what has worked, and can we mirror that for our programs.
Mm-hmm. And make sure that we get ahead of the messaging, because that's what with sanitation, it's the toilet to tap killed a lot of the stuff with sanitation.
Mm-hmm. How many people are working with you on this? It seems like a Herculean task.
Hyperion. So we have.
What is Hyperion is Hercules?
So Hyperion is also a Greek god. So he's very strong as well. They say he's stronger than Hercules. Yes. So my team is 11, including myself, but we also tap into other resources across the water system. So if we need system hydraulics, we lean on our water engineering and technical services division. We speak with our water ops folks, but also the consultant teams. They have several teams as well working on this, and I have a slide on this later. But we have two contracts currently working on this. So it's a master plan team, but also we have an owner's agent contract with another consultant team that's overseeing the work going on at Hyperion. So LA Sands producing documents. We're not wastewater experts, so we hired experts in that field to inform us and say, hey, can you help us out, review, make some recommendations? Does this look like it's in the right track? Are there other alternatives that maybe haven't been thought of? So we're going at it about it, and we have essentially a full suite of teams overseeing it to try and make sure that whatever we come up with is defensible.
Right. And I'm glad to hear that, of course, there's new technology since the last set of efforts that you can actually use to do proof of concepts and really, be able to develop your ideas deeper and get feedback for yourselves as you go around.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of having these teams, because they work around the world. They can pull in various expertise, and the benefit to us is we learn it, and then we can build that capacity internally. So here's in broad strokes what the program looks like, and I kind of touched on this a little bit, but on this slide you see two arrows coming from Hyperion, and the smaller one is the groundwater recharge in the central and west coast basin, and the longer arrow is sending water to the north end of the filtration plant, and is essentially what I presented in 2021 is very city centric and maximum use for the city, and I consider that as one bookend, right? So it's a one alternative. Now, let me back up here. So again, we think the west side, the way it's coming together in terms of negotiating or looking at how we're aligning our programs, we think that water for the west side would be sort of a base scenario. There's a lot of infrastructure already in place that we can actually leverage that can help with replenishment of the west coast and the central basin. So that remains consistent between the two, as opposed to just one pipeline going north. But the other alternative, obviously, is partnering with Metropolitan Water District under Pure Water Southern California. So, although the analysis is still underway, I think we'll end up somewhere between the two, somewhere between here and here. So some sort of hybrid that may include some of the smaller cities, and it makes sense because under certain hydrologic conditions we might have too much water, and so it'd be good connecting to that system would provide some additional operational flexibility. So I did want to highlight our key partnerships. Obviously, our key partners, LA Sand, our two programs, opposite sides of the same coin, but we want to make sure that both sides of the coin look the same. And so now there's also other major water and wastewater agencies across the region that we've been working with. And again, these are part of the MWD-led Water Reuse Collaborative. And this is at executive level meetings to ensure that there's alignment between the various major recycled water programs. So the roles include integration with existing or proposed systems, use of groundwater replenishment facilities, and potential vested partners. So if there's water that's left over, is there opportunities to partner with the region to alleviate on years that we have prolonged dry periods. Also, an important part is the groundwater basin managers. So groundwater storage will be an important part of this program. Between the three major basins, West Coast, Central Basin, and San Fernando, it's 1 million acre feet of available storage, about 2 years worth of the city's water supply. If you just look at it in plain terms and without building a dam. So that's a real power of the program. But each one of these basins have unique operating or governing structure that we have to work within. So we haven't started those negotiations on what the opportunities to put water into various basins look like. So again, master plan still under development, and we don't yet know exactly what the program's going to look like, but we know that it's still going to require substantial resources. So it's not only going to require all of the hard infrastructure that you see on this slide here, but we also have to account for the logistics. So I know President McCLAIN-HILL, you've brought this up in the past, and so in short, we're gonna need more people. So we're gonna have to train new staff. have somewhere to house them. We foresee additional real estate needs even beyond, needing for an advanced treatment facility or easements. So we're going to need office space, field yards, warehousing for material, equipment, and additional storage. So as part of our process, we actually are planning on launching an integrated human resources plan. I actually have a meeting on that tomorrow on working with Water Exec on how that would move forward. We've discussed with Power System. Thank you, Simon, on the efforts that they're doing, so we can mirror that for the water system as well. So, and the thought is, I presented that Operation X would require 400 new technical staff. It'll require doubling of construction forces, 3 times the amount of construction contracts, and so on. But in essence, as our major keystone programs start to sunset, like groundwater remediation, the city trunk line, that may open up some bandwidth where you can start using that bandwidth to start standing up the program. But I think that the integrated human resource plan will allow us to see, what rate do we hire, what rate do we promote, and what's our attrition rate. So it'll look at it more holistically, so that then we can make a determination. So based on what we're capable of, this is how much of the work can be kept in-house, which is the preferable. I'm always a big advocate to try and build internal capacity, or how much would have to be farmed out to consultant teams. All right. So the initiative that we're looking at is as much to me as a social science effort as a technical one. So when you look at the size, scale, scope of Operation X, you have to think about how can you implement a program like this through the lens of equity. So with other major initiatives coming through the region in the next decade, so along with Operation X, you have Pure Water Southern California, you have the Olympics, you have MTA, transportation and subway corridors. There's going to be a competition for limited resources, and some of the analysis that we've seen actually indicates there might be a labor shortage. And so workforce development needs to be a critical part of the strategy to show that Operation X can be a viable economic engine for the city. And so from my perspective, this is an opportunity where that we can build as we go through and build through these neighborhoods. Do we bury pipe, or what kind of legacy can we leave behind? Do we partner with our communities, create green space, amenities? Can you partner a park with a well and so forth? But most importantly is going out to the communities, middle schools, high schools, trade schools, and talk about the program. Let young people know that these are viable career alternatives for them that will be coming over the next decade. And it's not just blue collar, but also white collar. There's going to be just a lot more work that we see in the different aspects of what the department already does. So we're trying to capture that element of it as well in terms of developing a strategy on how we partner with the community to move forward. One more slide. Quickly highlighting some of the efforts, pilot projects with LASAN. There's 2 ongoing projects, the membrane bioreactor technology facility that's going to look at the log removals of what that treatment can get you before it goes into advanced treatment, and also a satellite water recycling facility, 1.5 million gallon a day advanced water purification that's going to provide advanced treated water to LAWA for non-potable reuse. And both of those are slated for completion towards the end of this year. In terms of the report, I mentioned the master plan. We recently received 30% draft. We're going through and commenting on those now. Additionally, we are partnered with Water Research Foundation and HDR consultants on program management. So you have to be able to manage not only the technical aspects, but also environmental, financial, institutional, the public will piece of it, and you have to be able to track everything as one for the dozens of projects that might come out of the program. So you need to develop a program management structure, tools, processes, controls. So looking at essentially a benchmarking study of what are the best practices out there, and what can then we recommend as potential changes, so that ensure that it positions us in the best position to succeed to implement the program. And the third item is the programmatic environmental impact project report. So once we pivoted to a master plan, we did put that on pause. Once we generate additional scenarios through the master planning process, we do expect that we will then relaunch the programmatic EIR, and there will be about 6 months lag between when the master plan is done to when the programmatic CEQA is completed. And then service contracts, the expert panel is actually the mechanism we're using for the master plan. And I did also mention the Hyperion owner agent that's assisting us in looking at the best way to manage and advance treat water that used to be wastewater. So that completes my presentation, and I can take questions.
Good job.
Questions or
Yeah,
comments?
thank you. No questions at this time, but I just want to thank you for the presentation. Although I'm newer to the board, I was involved in some of the early One Water efforts and have worked with LASAN and LADWP for a long time. It's really exciting to see this work moving forward, and I very much look forward to the 60% plan. I think the type of challenges that we're facing as a city really are these complex systems type challenges, and we need to adapt our governance structures to respond. And I think beyond the critical importance of the operational result of this project, I think the process and the partnership that's being created with Public Works and with LASAN and LADWP is a model for so much of what we need to do for this region. So thank you very much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Any other?
Yes, fantastic presentation, very thorough. So, incredibly, of course, informative, and it makes us all sort of be very after there's a little article today in the paper that I read very early in the morning, which, had this writer understood what you are up to and the amazing work that you're doing, and how you're working across agencies to make things happen. I think, again, it goes to communication sometimes, but you have an awesome way with, of presenting and making things very clear. It's very complex, and I really appreciate the overview.
Thank you.
Well, you have a Hyperion task in front of you. And so I just want to say how proud I am of you. And I have full confidence that you're going to be successful. And thank you for all your hard work. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a couple of comments. First, I want to underscore Commissioner NEEMAN Brady's emphasis on delivering vis-a-vis the timeline. We've have spent a lot of time and energy at this board and across this department and in the public spaces talking about our power program as it relates to electrification and climate resilience. We have not invested the same amount of energy in a public setting talking about this critical undertaking. And so, I saw your sort of October check-in. You can count on the request for frequent check-ins as this work really is, water is life, as Commissioner Reyes noted, and this department carries on its shoulders the responsibility of making sure that, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, the people that sit in these seats are sitting in a Los Angeles that is vibrant and vital and that can serve all of its residents. And what we do has impact for the entire region. So this work is critical beyond measure. I will point this out. I rarely promote or make note of the fact that we're an all-female board. I try not to be chauvinistic about that, although I do think it's had its impact. And this is one of the areas where its impact has shown up in a pretty substantial way. People ask me from time to time, what's the difference? What is it? Why does it matter? What is it like? And what I tell them when I'm in a private space, and the answers aren't going to be recorded and thrown back at me, is that there's a lot less ego and a lot more collaboration. The significant breakthrough occasioned by the elevation of the work or the inclusion of the board leadership in the work that the two departments, Public Works and LADWP, are engaged in really was an important component to get things moving. We weren't invited. We simply stepped in and, using the role that is appropriate for us to play, began to focus and to coordinate and to facilitate greater collaboration, and that matters. As we continue to move forward and look at all of the things that we have got to achieve around this, our department's going to have to embrace that model and to recognize that there are roles to be played by leadership at every level, by leadership within this department, and I commend the tremendous work that's being done by folks across this department and the leadership of water systems in bringing this forward, sticking with it, kind of, saying every now and then, look over here, but really staying focused on this critical work. I also acknowledge and commend the work of folks at at Public Works, and particularly LA Sands. For us to get this done, we're going to have to involve our political leadership. This is, to Commissioner KATZ's point, this is a project of extraordinary regional significance. And getting the attention, building the public will, getting the kind of collaboration, and frankly, just getting it done is going to require commitment and determination and leadership at every level. This is something that we can and will do. We have faced, tremendous crises. We have survived COVID as a human race. And, it was not long ago that we were cowered in our homes, wondering, what it would mean and if it was safe to be outside. And through collective effort, determination, leadership, and the goodwill of the public, we got through. What we face in this changing climate, and frankly, an oversubscribed, wherever we look, demand on existing water supplies, is a public crisis of similar dimension. It doesn't feel as immediate, but it can be fast. So rain or shine, regardless of the variability of weather, I look forward to being part of and supporting and recruiting, and want you to think at every step of the way, recruit all the help that you need, because they will show up, and that is how we get this project done. I especially look forward to the presentation on the foundation work, the overall programmatic strategy. I'm very interested in what that will look like. I saw it was 15% complete. I'll be anxious to see us make, added progress on that so that we can get a more holistic sense of how this rolls out. And again, just want to say job well done to Water Systems, and you've got quite an act to follow with respect to that integrated human resources plan. I will be looking forward to that, and the sooner the better, so that we can start engaging in the kind of comprehensive planning that this department has to engage in order to continue its leadership. So thank you.
Thank you.
It is noon already. We have in front of us another presentation and then several items called special. So, I don't know how long the board closed session is going to be. Would a break for, okay, so why don't we take 20 minutes, come back at 12:30? And we'll begin the meeting again at that time. So we're in recess. Thank you.
Well, there's an MOA, so all these voting places at City Hall can't start trying to charge you for their services.
Madam President, we're ready whenever you are.
Did you see them? We can push back a little.
So we are resuming our meeting. Would you please call the roll? Or are our mics not on yet, right?
They are on.
They are on. Terrific. Then if you would call the roll.
Sure. Commissioner KATZ.
Present.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Present.
President McCLAIN-HILL.
Present.
Commissioner BRADY.
Present.
Vice President Ruiz.
Present.
5 board members, a quorum is present.
Terrific. We now have item I2 to be presented.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Evelyn Cortez Davis, Director of Water Engineering and Technical Services, and we're here to give you an update on the Elysian Reservoir Community Parks Enhancement Fund that was requested at the last board meeting on May 23rd. The presentation will actually be given by Esther Lee, who is an architect and manager of the Architectural Design Group in Water Engineering and Technical Services Division, and by Mr. Craig Rains, who is a landscape architect 2 in the City of Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks. Before we jump into the presentation, I would like to offer you a little bit of background. So if we can go to the next slide, Craig.
Which one?
Great. You can use the arrow, I think. There we go. Perfect. So in terms of background, this program was a result of mitigation related to park impacts from one of our water quality improvement projects in the area. So in April of 2012, the board selected the floating cover alternative for Elysian Reservoir's water quality improvement project and certified the environmental impact report on that date, including EIR mitigation for park impacts. As a follow-up to this, in partnership with the Department of Recreation and Parks, because they are our city's experts in developing and maintaining recreational areas for the city, we pursued a memorandum of understanding with the Rec and Parks Department that was adopted by this board and subsequently adopted in July of 2016 by the Recreation and Parks Board. And the funding that was established for this program was $12.5 million that would be defined in terms of scope and design for park improvements in the area where the original project was set in Elysian Park, and both Esther and Craig will be able to provide you some specific information. The money was transferred, the $12.5 million was transferred to the Recreation and Parks Department Fund in October of 2016. So what I'd like to do is to have Esther cover a little bit more information about the terms of that memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding, and then Mr. Rains will Craig will cover the rest of the topics.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Esther Lee, Architect of Water System, and I'm here with Craig Rains, Landscape Architect of Rec and Parks. I will start by going over the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding with Rec and Parks. The MOU with Rec and Parks shows no expiration date of the $12.5 million that was transferred to Rec and Parks and is in effect until the funds are exhausted. And as stated in the MOU, Rec and Parks resources shall be used to develop and accomplish the identified enhancement projects in a timely manner. And also, the purpose of the Community Parks Enhancement Funds is to provide community park enhancements for the public purposes within the Elysian Park area or comparable urban areas under the discretion of Rec and Parks. It also states that Rec and Parks will consult with appropriate city council districts to select projects, determine necessary budgets, and estimate delivery schedules. On February 16, 2016, the LADWP board meeting at the LADWP board meeting, the LADWP board directed Rec and Parks to provide quarterly informational reports as an amendment to the agenda item under item number 24 with verbal motion. And Rec and Parks has been providing informational reports on all projects to the LADWP's board on a quarterly basis, and the most recent report was filed on May 23rd. Next slide. This is a map showing the Elysian Park improvement area in white, and you can see that it's nearby the Dodger Stadium. And more specific project locations will be presented by Craig. And I will now hand it off to Craig Rains, the landscape architect from Rec and Parks, to give us the presentation on some of the projects that have been completed and some of the projects in progress and upcoming projects.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, LADWP staff. Really love your conference room here. It's a fantastic space. First off, we have the slide up here indicating project types. And I just want to kind of reinforce project types here where this came out of several community meetings with the, at that time, concerned citizens to save Elysian Park. And it was a really kind of dynamic, kind of intense kind of meetings. And out of that, there was a strong desire to work on the park entry, landscaping, beautification. A lot of that had to do with the major entrance ports into the park, and one specifically, the Broadway entrance. Another project type that came out was site security, gates and fencing, and this really relates directly to the community garden park. Another concept coming up was the dog park and picnic area, synthetic soccer field, and the adaptive recreation center they wanted us to take a strong focus on, and trail improvements, restrooms, and then probably the main project component, the universal accessible playground and fitness in Solano Canyon. Right here, what we're taking a look at is sort of just a very generalized graphic on where those projects exist within the Elysian boundary, or Elysian Park boundary. Pretty straightforward on that. Progress to date. What you see here is a listing of the 24 projects. 9 are indicated to be complete. Those 9 would be 2 disc golf courses, 2 parking lot improvements, 1 restroom, 1 synthetic soccer field, gate and fencing for the community garden, and the beautification of the Broadway entrance to Elysian, though that's, anyway, I wouldn't look at the current state of that project.
So when you're talking about roof repairs, is this roof repair on the restrooms?
No, just one of the main maintenance sheds there, sort of the kind of Elysian Park, Rec and Park sort of office kind of thing. It was just one roof for that. And then there was 1 restroom in Solano that's being replaced.
Thank you.
And so far of the MOU, the 12.5 billion, we have a spent to date number of 6.6, and then the remaining fund amount of 5.9. And this money has either been spent or has been encumbered for the projects. And then also with this, we have 6 of the current projects are in planning. 3 of those are in design, and 6 of the 24 projects are in construction. And these slides will just kind of show some of the construction.
On the prior slide, are you going to run out of money to complete your projects?
No. One of the things we've done early on, and I know this funding thing has been going on for a long time. These budgets were set up 2016. It's now 2023. Money doesn't go there as far. So we've sort of prioritized with the community what projects we are super focused on, getting those complete. And after we get those complete, we'll see what we have left and we can then proceed down the list. But this is a really good question. I mean, it's with the pandemic and the supply chain issues, and then the rain issues we've had last year impacted us probably a little bit more than we anticipated. So, and here's just a shot of a completed project, the Solano Canyon Synthetic Soccer Field, the Buena Vista Disc Golf. Kind of cool to see all the disc golf stuff coming back. This is what you're seeing here are some conceptualized graphics of some possibilities for the Adaptive Recreation Center. So far on this project, the only work we've really done has been on exterior, updating the irrigation system to smart, and then the landscaping to regionally compatible landscape palette. But this is one of the projects we're looking definitely to get more energy in as soon as we get a clear understanding how much money we have left. And this is one of our concepts for Solano Canyon. We work closely with the community on the configuration here. And this concept includes restroom, picnic area, UAP, playground, parking, fitness area, and maintaining as many existing trees as possible. Concept 2, these are pretty much variations of the same thing. So, and then concept 3. Another project that the community had identified that they wanted us to take a look at was the urban forestry, tree inventory assessment and restoration plan, and we are at 99% complete with that. This slide kind of outlines sort of, I talked about how these projects were kind of birthed out of the community process, or once birthed, sort of how they were kind of worked. And basically all what you've seen here, it's been designed in-house, and then being constructed through our on-call vendor list for such construction. The public engagement, we've worked with both Council Districts 1 and 13. I meet regularly with the concerned citizens, who are actually now called Friends of Elysian. I meet with them once a month, vet with them, listen, and hopefully, engage them so they understand that.
You changed them from concerned citizens to friends? That's a good thing.
Yeah, I know. I know you're concerned citizens, and it's like we're all concerned. But we've been working with them closely, for the past probably 3 years. So. And here's some slides of, I'm sure you've all been to community meetings, but the group here was really, instrumental, and they were actively involved, and not just spitting out ideas, but sitting down with us and kind of conceptualizing the space and sort of items they wanted to see. And here, I think I mentioned these earlier. Some of, like you guys mentioned earlier, we're coming out of this pandemic, COVID kind of chaos, and I think we're just all beginning to find our strides again. And during the main implementation of this, we had COVID-19, we had supply chain issues, weather, and then we had to throw our usual things with DBS permitting. So it's, that's everlasting. And next steps? Did you want to?
Oh, yeah. So the next steps for Rec and Parks will be to finish up the 15 projects in progress. Rec and Parks has 6 projects in planning, 3 in design, and 6 in construction. And Rec and Parks will continue to provide quarterly reports, and I will relay the information to the board as I have been doing.
Questions?
I just think this is another great example of partnership and collaboration, not only between the 2 departments, but with the community. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have questions. Can you go to the first slide? This allocation came 2016, I think. That's about how many years before the pandemic?
This one?
The allocation from DWP for, came in 2016. And, everybody's very well aware of the fact that we've all suffered delays and supply issues. But between 2016 and when things were slowed down, there were 5 or 6 years that were not impacted. So I do think, and I'm pleased that things are working well with the community. Not quite clear from the diagrams and sketches which projects are and which built, which problems are going to be built, and how far the 12.5 is going to go. But and I don't want to over complicate the presentation, but I do think there is a delay that is hard to, is not quite clear.
You're talking about the initial 2016 to when it appears that like all of the work started, which was about 2019. Yeah. Some of that is typical, just bureaucratic, institutionalized kind of processing. A lot of it was staffing issues at the time. And I believe it really started getting its head around 2019. Sort of, not disparaging anything, but sort of, it was not my project prior. So it's hard for me to answer any questions to that. And then as far as the completed projects, the 9 projects we listed are 2 disc golf, the roof repair, the parking improvement, restrooms, synthetic soccer field. Okay, I don't know if we put that on one graphic, like a excuse me, a map. But if it's something you really want, we can do that. So.
I think the community is going to benefit. Some of us would be interested in the urban forestry project, just because there seems to be a lot of eucalyptus and happens to be a fire issue. So once you're going into forestry, do you attend to that issue? It'd be interesting to know. It would not be a pretty picture to have Dodger Stadium go up in smoke. Just saying. So it could help you to be thinking that way.
And also just to sort of, we're putting together, I know as part of the overall projects that we need to do is a master plan.
Yes.
So we're working with all the necessary parties. There's been a couple of hiccups there, as the prior firm that did the master plan is no longer completely together. So, but that is an area too that we're going to be taking a look at, and it will help address a lot of the tree issues, vegetation issues, safety issues, all the trail issues, and put them in a cohesive kind of package and vision. So,
thank you.
And I really think that Elysian Park is one of our hidden jewels that not a lot of people go to, especially on the hiking trails. You get the best visuals of downtown, and this is a great place, and I know that the community really utilizes this park, so I'm really happy to see so much progress.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on this presentation?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay. Is that it for our presentations?
I believe so.
Okay.
And now filed items.
So I want to go to filed items. I actually had a question on item number 1. So item number 1 is the report of payments on fine and penalties for environmental violations. And item number 1 on this is small amount of money, $21,000, but what got my attention is the cause of the violation. So this is in Manzanar National Park, and we ran over some artifacts, and we ran over some shrubs. So I just kind of wanted to get a little bit more detail about what happened. And it did happen, but I want to know how we're going to improve that in the future to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And it was an acre.
Exactly.
Which is a lot of land.
So is there somebody that can explain that?
I think Catherine Rubin just came in.
Yeah,
She might
yeah,
not have.
probably has the best information on that, yeah. Question about the violation at Manzanar and what occurred and what we're doing to prevent that from reoccurring.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Catherine Rubin, Director of Environmental Affairs. It's nice to see everybody today. What happened at Manzanar was that we had some power system work going on the right-of-way that goes through the Manzanar property itself. And unfortunately, we didn't have any archaeological or biomonitors out there, and our crews ran over several archaeological artifacts. So in order for this not to happen again, we did go up there several times to talk to the superintendent of the parks, to tell them how sorry we were and that we apologized for what happened. And so
And Catherine, so maybe not everybody might not know what Manzanar is, to kind of just give a little background what that is and why is it significant?
Oh, absolutely. So Manzanar was an internment camp back in World War II, and it's probably a part of our history that we may not be so proud of, and where we rounded up the Japanese residents in the area and took them over there and made them live in these, I don't know what you want to call
They're
them,
called internment
buildings.
camps.
Yeah, these internment camps. They had like 300 people per building. The living situation was not so great. There was no heat, there was no water. And so there's a cemetery there. We also have a reservoir there. And so what's left there are basketball playing fields where the kids would play, and also some of the foundation work of some of those buildings that the people lived in.
And a museum.
And then there's a wonderful museum that you can go through and get educated in. And so it was along the right-of-way, which is near these homes where these Japanese families lived, and also the bathrooms and stuff. We ran over some of the foundation and some of the sprinklers and other types of artifacts that were there. So it's a very significant property, not just nationally, but internationally. And so we really want to maintain that and also protect it. And so we felt really bad about what had happened.
And so how do we make sure stuff like that doesn't happen again?
So what we're doing now is we put together a training, and we're working with the state park system to have training. They actually would like even our attorneys to come up there and get trained. We also promised them that we would bring employees up there, employees that do not work at Manzanar, so that they understand the significance of Manzanar as they're driving past the 395, and it's over there to your left on your way up to Bishop. And that we're going to have training with our transmission folks, and that they're to call us every time they want to go out to do some work on that property. So
are there particular like policy changes, or, I mean, obviously we could say.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, I think that these are questions that really go to the general manager. And the reason I say that is because this, like so many other things, these issues tend to come up in a reactive kind of episodic way. You know, we do something and then it's like, okay, we did this, that was bad, what are we going to do about it, et cetera. And what it underscores is a lack of proactive, systematic or system-wide planning and perspective about how we avoid certain things. So that we're not apologizing and we're not, you know, oh, here. So that's what's very frustrating about this. And the question really becomes, how does that get resolved? And I don't think that we can fix all of these issues by dealing with this. And that's part of the issue. There's every single isolated aspect of the organization is sort of doing its own thing without an overarching set of guidance about what's important, how that's manifested in how we do our work, you know, organization-wide. And so I'd be interested in understanding that, like how that changes.
Sure.
So,
go ahead, Marty.
yeah, so this is, unfortunately, not the first time we've had an incident where we've had crews working on property. We have a power line easement or right of way to be there, but it's not our underlying property or our surrounding property. It's happened in the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy area not that long ago. It's happened, you know, against the Manzanar. And so, you know, part of the education process is twofold things that are important. One is engaging corporate environmental in terms of monitors for biological, because a lot of times we run into rare plants, which happen here locally, and also artifacts. And then the other issue is an ongoing education about, you know, we have right-of-ways and roadways that we access. When our work takes us outside of those normal beaten paths, that's where we potentially get into trouble. And we've been working with our crews in terms of sometimes they'll want to cut a new road in or cut an access way into a transmission tower or something like that. And so that stuff has to be led by corporate environmental before we can just create access. So we may have rights to get to our power lines. It doesn't give us a right to change the condition of the land that we don't own. I mean, sometimes even land that we do own because of underlying issues. So this is an ongoing effort. This is the first time this has occurred at Manzanar like this, but it's not the first occurrence. And so there has been training going on with transmission crews. I don't know of another issue in the Owens Valley.
So let me just say it differently. When you say it's happened before, there's training going on, and it's still happening, then my question, it seems to me that means that what we are doing is perhaps not the most effective way of preventing it from happening. So I think Commissioner Ruiz was asking about what are we going to do? Do we have policies, et cetera? I guess I want to say it differently. It seems to me that without specific, you know, directive and policy and guidance, without protocols and practices in place that in a systematic, system-wide or department-wide way address these occurrences, they're going to keep happening. You know, people move in and out of work. You can't educate your way out of it like that. You've got to, we have protocols and practices for how you do any number of things. We can have protocols, practices, or what some might call policies for how we do this work that would cause people to have to stop before they take the actions that are resulting in this kind of, you know, in these kinds of activities. So that's what needs to get done. Because this isn't working. Doing the same thing and just more of it isn't changing the needle here. Right. And once you do it, you can't take it back.
Correct. Right.
And so we've built what's called an environmental review database, and we are trying to get the water system and the power system and the joint system.
But you can't get the water system or the power system to do anything, is my point. Marty can and Aram can, which is what I'm saying to you. So you are not my issue because you don't have the authority to change what needs to be changed. You do. ARM does, and that's the only way that this is going to get addressed. And so it really becomes a matter of identifying those things that we need to change and then taking ownership for changing them at the level at which they can be changed, because everybody here knows that, you know, there are very few people in the joint system that are going to go tell somebody in the power system what to do, or the water system for that matter. And all of these conversations at levels that don't have impact does not suggest to me that we are sufficiently interested in avoiding these kinds of issues.
And the only reason it came to board as a filed item, which seems a little buried, is that because we got charged a fine of $21,000, or else it would have never even be put on our radar. So I read everything, so when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I wanted to ask a question. And Catherine, not to put you on the spot, but it's just for me, I felt it was significant and wanted to raise it.
I agree. I think it was significant. And even though it was only $21,000, it was a real faux pas on our part. And yeah, it was not something we want to repeat. But I just want to also, though, say that about the environmental review database, everybody is supposed to put their work into that database. And so every group within environmental then can read what the project scope is, and they let them know what types of permits they will need before they can start work. So we have started this database. You can see it on ENV Review. Anybody can go there and look, and you will see all the projects, all the maintenance projects are listed there. We're still getting people used to putting their projects in there. It is then reviewed by all 7 groups within environmental. And then we tell the project manager when they can start work, when all permits are in place, and we go out there and we do training with them.
So which I think is great, but do we have like an executive order from the general manager directing people to do that? I don't know.
No, and that's lacking.
Nancy Sutley, we sent out a bulletin through Nancy Sutley a year and a half ago or whatever, and I'm actually updating that bulletin because we do have some other situations.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah.
And I mean, and again, there is, I guess, you know, and I don't want to belabor the point, and I know that Commissioner NEEMAN Brady has a clock on the amount of time she can be here, so we do need to, we've got several items that we've got to take up that require commission action. But at the end of the day, accountability does matter.
Yes.
And so all of the conversation and all of the activity, if it doesn't lead to results that are documented and accountable, it just doesn't matter. It's just a waste of time and energy. And, you know, there are things that you do that you cannot take back.
Right.
And so we should make sure that we are, you know, operating in a manner that will, you know, result in our not doing those things. And we can and do have things that rise to that level. We make decisions all the time about what we think is important and what isn't, and what we choose to achieve and what we don't. And, you know, we've got to start taking responsibility for our actions in a very different way.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on this item?
Nope.
All right, then if we could move to, I assume we're done with filed items in general. Item K, is there a motion regarding approval of the minutes?
Motion.
Second. Call the roll.
Excuse me. Commissioner KATZ.
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER. Commissioner LEHRER?
Yes?
Are you voting yes on the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
I was on vacation, so I'm not going to vote.
Okay. 4 ayes, motion adopted.
Jen, just so I can ask my 2 questions on the gas hedging.
Thank you. We're going to take a few items out of order. So let's start with, we're going to start with item 12.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's
sorry.
9.
I'm sorry, 9. With item 9. Oh, yeah, it is 9, sorry.
Sorry about that.
And Commissioner NEEMAN Brady, you have a question about gas switching?
Yes.
And I have Lisa Yin, Director of Rates and Financial Planning, and Peter Rin, Director of Finance and Risk Control, for the presentation or particular questions.
I asked for the presentation in advance, so I did have the luxury of seeing it. If we can put it up, I'd like to direct us to some particular slides because I wanted to better understand our approach.
Okay.
And just in the interest of time, rather than you go through the whole presentation, although it's not very long.
I think if you've got time, we can certainly move through it.
Okay, great.
All right. First of all, good afternoon, Board President, Commissioners. I'm Lisa Ying, and my colleague Peter Wing here. So this is one of the items we come to the board on a regular basis every year, and we do have a short presentation, so happy to walk through. Okay. So basically what we're asking the board to approve today is really for the retail natural gas volume and expense budget for a 6-year window from 23-24 to 28-29. And this budget is mainly for use for the planning and natural gas hygiene purposes. And once the board approve it, could you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so once it's approved, it actually allows the department to enter into contracts and also financial transactions. In this slide, you can see, we all know, natural gas costs are very volatile. And you can see from the chart here, the gas price can go down as low as $1.29 in April 2020. And it go up as high as $46.81 in January 2023. So normally the natural gas price is roughly like $3 to $5. So you can see it really changed a lot. So the natural gas price spending, as you see from the budget here, you're going to see is vary and also really depending on the actual spending, really depending on the changes in the price and the volume. Okay, so just a little background information here. DWP has or maintained a hygiene program since 2001, so it's been over 20 years. And DWP basically manage in other words, I just try to make it simply speaking. So natural gas hygiene program is not necessarily, save costs all the time. It's more like for us to manage and then really stabilize, the natural gas expenditures. So it's really to avoid, the fluctuations.
To prevent for our customers what happened in December, January to everybody else?
Exactly. So, yeah, exactly. Every day, have a shocking, gas bill, and luckily we have the savings from natural gas along with the other factors. Our customer does not see as high as the bill as natural gas, the gas bill. So in the slide shows here, so this is basically, we're talking DWP hedge probably 34% of the total estimate gas requirement for 23-24. The assumption we use is really aligned with the budget assumptions the board just approved for 23-24 budget. So what you see here, there's 3 portions, right? The one in blue, this is basically is the financial hygiene. Like basically, you're looking at 100% for natural gas. Roughly, the blue portion shows how much we hedge. And then the orange portion, very little at the bottom, this is basically shows you the Pendle natural gas reserve we have. We own it, and then we normally, basically, we drill and we sell. So you can treat it as a part of the hygiene. And the yellow portion, the bar chart here, is basically shows the remaining of the gas volume that's in the budget. Okay.
So one of my questions is on that side. The 34% is what is intended to be hedged for this year, and then you layer it down, and it's kind of an odd layering. So I partly was curious how you came to that decline, but I just also wanted to confirm that next year you would
get to 34%? Is it always 34% and then 22%, 23%, 22%, 12%? I don't know, whatever these weird percentages are.
I'm sorry, the math that on there looks awful, but I assure you that if you look at the last year's natural gas budget that was approved by the board, it would show 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay.
So what happened was this year,
because of the prices.
No, this reflects the new natural gas budget that's being shown here.
I see.
So the volume in the current one that we're seeking approval, the volume has increased quite a bit, and that's because partly we projected an increase in sales, and also projecting for the first couple of years because of the coal, we're trying to use less coal and save it for the summer months. So there's a portion of natural gas stepping up. So when we put on those new natural gas budget numbers, the volume, that's why you see 34%, 22%, nothing seems to make sense.
Okay.
But based on this budget, we're going to come back and create a hedging authorization.
Okay.
And that hedging authorization, we're going to go out and do 50, 40, 30, 10. So because of our programmatic approach over time, what the slide earlier shown for you, how volatile the natural gas prices are, because we're laying in about 10% for each fiscal year and out for 5 years, the average price for us for the 5 years, you're looking at it in the threes.
Okay.
And you can see it as volatile as 40-some odd dollars. So the settlements alone last year saved the ratepayers quite a substantial sum.
Yeah, and I think that's the next slide. Okay, but just to put a finer point on it, thank you for clarifying what's going on with the percentages. But on a rolling basis, you would typically do 50 down to 10 over 5 years.
Yes. Okay. So you can see here the settlements. So for the fiscal 23, for 9 months ended, we're looking at 144 million in settlements that we collected from the counterparties.
That's
and the years prior, a little bit lesser because it's lesser volatile.
So that needs to be netted against the 495, right? That's not, so this year, 144, our expenditures would be 495 minus 144?
Yes.
Does that include the cost of hedging?
The hedging prices is already netted in the fuel price.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Those were my questions. Excellent. Very good.
Okay.
And on the other one, you're just asking the hedging cost. Normally, we have a limitation. So basically, I think it's in part of the presentation, also in your board package, in the second to the last page. So actually, it's the last page. So you see the maximum financial transaction, the $15 million. Those are the maximum amount department authorized to pay any premium or broker fees.
This is a colossal amount of money, truly. So, thank you.
Isn't it correct, too, that we don't have the 15 million? That would only be on certain types of hedges.
So the $15 million is when we're incurring costs at the moment when we enter into transaction. That's when we purchase call options. So far, since 2014, when we have resumed our hedging program, we have not done any options because they tend to be wasting assets on the balance sheet over time. So.
FSO again.
Okay.
Always ready.
So now.
Are there any other questions?
Oh.
Or do you want to do the last slide? I think there's one more slide.
Okay, almost done. Okay, so this is a slide you can see. I think Peter touched on it already. So basically, the yellow bar shows, the expenditures for each of the year, and the blue bar shows basically how much is the settlement from the hedging program. And you can see most of the years we basically have savings for our customers against the expenditures. There's only for 1920, that's the time we basically lost like $6 million from the program. So that's basic aid on top of expenditures. For the last bar chart, you probably wonder, hey, why this yellow bar is only for 9 months window, and not even for the whole year. Then you see the expenditures is $495 million. And for this year, we actually have a lot of savings from the hedging program, which is $144 million to offset the expenditures. And And this is the yellow bar also because we have the natural gas price in highly in December and January, and also we have very limited the reserves on coal as well. This is basically a summary on what we're asking the board to approval, the natural gas volume and expenditure for each of the years. And so for the total, the 6 years window, we're looking at volume 343 million BTU, and also roughly $2.1 billion for the 6 years.
Why is there a step up in 25, 26 of volume?
The 25-26 is when IPP, I believe, comes on. That's July 2025.
Right.
And that's a natural gas and green hydrogen blend.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's the end of the presentation.
Any questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve item 9?
So moved.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner KATZ? Aye. Commissioner LEHRER? President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN-Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. We could now
Thank you.
move to item number 12.
So item number 12, I called special, and so I'm not opposed to this. I support the item. However, when I read the report, and I read them all the way through to the very end, on the very last page, section F indicated there is 0 WBE. So we have a $20 million contract over 9 years. So I was very disappointed to see there is no women business participation.
Yes.
So that was my statement. It was not necessarily a question unless you have anything you want to say, Ophelia.
I could add just Ophelia Rubio, Manager of Project and Construction Management for the water system. We have had conversations with our KATZ, and they have identified 3 subs that are women business enterprises that they intend to use. 2 are not much work. I mean, landscaping and HVAC in this kind of facility, we're not going to have much of that, but there is some cost estimating, and they are going to look a little bit further. It is a task-specific contract, so as tasks come up, they have committed to looking into other WBEs.
Well, I've known you a long time, and I know that you will hold them accountable, so thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
With that, I'll move approval.
Thank you.
Second?
Commissioner KATZ? Aye. Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN-Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
We have item number 2, for which Commissioner KATZ will need to recuse. Is there anyone looking for a presentation on item 2? I don't think so.
Move approval.
Second?
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN-Brady?
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. I think that item 1 is being deferred, so I believe that brings our open session to a close, and we'll be moving into closed session. You will give us the magic language.
Board shall recess into closed session. After closed session, the board will publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention thereon of every member present in accordance with California Government Code 54957.1.
Terrific, and we'll stay in this room. And while the room is being cleared, we have one more photo. Commissioner Ruiz, we did not take a photo with your certificate.
I'm good.
Oh, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Then we are moving into closed session. We'll simply wait. Thanks.